In the fall of 1995, 12 art teachers and 12 science teachers from Iowa's high schools and elementary schools gathered at Iowa State University. The idea was to invent ways to learn about two seemingly opposite disciplines, art and chemistry, and do it with state-of-the-art instructional technologies. Leonardo da Vinci was ahead of his time, breaking away from traditional thought in art and science. So too these Da Vinci scholars are inventing the future in education, creating new combinations of ideas, with new tools to make those ideas happen.
Anybody who buys we only have 6 modems for power back time and yours may snap, it may not. The way you can tell.
I think so.
The trouble with setting up 20 computer stations is you need a lot of power. So a 220-volt line was brought in, but it was not split down to two 110-volt lines. Three computer power supplies were toasted. The short delay, however, turned into an opportunity. In a collaborative effort like this, in which participants are so widely separated, both by geography and by discipline, strong personal ties are very important. These ties would be forged and strengthened during this first meeting. The delay was also an opportunity to become familiar with another educational tool, instructional strategies. Strategies used in the course of the project, and strategies for the scholars themselves to apply to their own instruction. In the end, effective instructional strategies combined with multimedia presentation techniques would be the new tools shaping the educational materials created by these Da Vinci scholars. Continuing on track with working tools in hand, discussion turned to which art and science concepts they would explore together. In February, the Da Vinci scholars returned to the Iowa State campus for an ambitious 2-day winter workshop. Here, work continued on mastering the new instructional tools, gaining important computer skills, and refining or creating new instructional strategies. But now, creative ideas started to take over. The scholars shared their newly developed art-science strategies and the student artwork that resulted from them.
My students have never done this before, so the first time was a complete failure. So we tried to do it again, and we had more success. I think this comes through practice.
Typical of the scholars' projects, Ken Esfeld, an elementary school art teacher, spoke about his students' creations of elemental creatures from the periodic table.
Because I wanted them to then go out and do the research required to do the rest of the drawing. Now, if you just get the information and then stop there, then the creative process is at an end. And so they had to take that information and then turn it over and come up with all the possibilities. And here we have calcium with us today. Calcium soft silver white metal. This particular child put it on limestone. And the idea is we're going to have our own chart when we get done, only it's going to be elemental creatures, and it's going to be huge. I have a great wall in my art room. I think it'll look...
After hearing and seeing what each other had done, the Da Vinci scholars would return to their classes with new ideas for improving their own strategies, or with ideas for new strategies to try. 2 months later, in April, the DaVinci scholars reconvened to share their results of fine-tuning the teaching strategies that they'd been using in their classes.
A lot of the noble gases seem to have things to do with light. So we got several with light bulb type things. They had a periodic chart. I told them they were clear over on the edge, you know, real separatists. Now they're working on the periodic chart game, and they're using the periodic chart as a game board, and they're figuring out cards and dice and things like that. They just started that one.
As we add energy, the molecules in the solid start bouncing around a lot more. And now they're slowly starting to melt. They're kind of just sliding off.
Animation may be one form of art to explore the changing states of matter.
So now,
But how could you present these ideas to elementary school children? A couple of DaVinci scholars had their fourth grade students act like molecules in motion. DaVinci scholars would continue to develop, refine, and test their instructional strategies in their own classrooms throughout the remainder of the project. These strategies would then be placed in an extensive database that would be available to other teachers.
Chromatography is a technique which is used to separate materials. It's the separations methodology. You punch a little hole in the middle, put a little wick in there so the water comes up and spreads out in the paper. Well, they didn't punch one, they punched 3 and 4 holes in the paper and then spotted all kinds of different colors around, so they started merging into one another. They weren't quite as bound by the structural methods as we as chemists are trained to deal with. You know, this is
Developing and implementing your own strategy is one thing.
bound by that.
Teaching someone else's strategy takes practice. 4 DaVinci scholars tested a strategy hands-on with a dozen Iowa State University students.
There you go. Thanks.
Put like a couple colors in a very simple pattern.
It's a no.
As an added benefit, these students were pre-service teachers in ISU's College of Education. In fact, these student scholars were with the DaVinci Project from the start. They had the opportunity not only to experience these new art-science strategies themselves, but also to follow the process of their development, and then to put them into their own teaching repertoires. The DaVinci scholars were good in their respective disciplines. But unlike Leonardo, who was well-versed in both art and science, it was clear that the DaVinci science scholars needed a greater appreciation for art. Like their science counterparts, the DaVinci art scholars needed a view of the scientific side. Summer 1996, almost a year since they started. The DaVinci scholars had integrated the worlds of art and science, using traditional media in their educational strategies. Now they would explore a whole new world of multimedia. They were charged with designing a fully developed instructional package that could be used by both art and science teachers. And the package would reside on a compact disc, a CD.
It will then be joined with another molecule, and there'll be a thud sound, and there'll be some...
4 DaVinci scholar groups would each develop the content of a different art-science module.
Florence, Italy, and then it's kind of a zoom-in thing. You can flip through the next pages. It just zooms in on through the city. The sounds would be Renaissance sounds and music sounds, fountain sounds, kind of what you might observe if you looked around you.
In the fall, the DaVinci scholars had a first look at how some of their art-science ideas might play on the computer.
Click and drag the sliding lever along the density bar. Click on any element in the periodic table to see its density. Now, this is not complete.
One of the modules explores density, a word common to both art and science. The question was, could a single teaching strategy, like the density wall, be used for both art and chemistry classes? The only way to find out was to let the DaVinci scholars try it. Like all the elements of the multimedia program, each of the 4 art science modules would be teacher tested and revised before being tried in the classroom. How a strategy such as the density wall would work in actual art and science classes would be a critical test. Will the students learn? Will they want to learn?
Iron? I need one.
Oh, we already did that person need water? Yeah, okay.
Doing this kind of a project and asking students to think this way is something new for me and for them. But I'm now in the process of talking about the topic of solids, liquids, and gases. And we're going back and we're using the symbolism that we used in the density wall, and they're picking up on the behavior of the particles much faster than other classes have in the past. And it's because of the experience they had in thinking about a symbolic representation for density.
What are you using?
I don't know. What do you want to match up?
Focus on the whole picture.
As a matter of fact, I had one girl today who asked if she could go down to the wall and pull a picture off because she wanted that kind of density in the piece that she was working on in class, which is completely different, of course, than what we were working on then. So it's carrying through.
During this second year of the DaVinci Project, as the scholars were creating, developing, and testing their art science strategies, the 4 multimedia modules they had brainstormed during the summer workshop were being developed. Iowa State University instructional developers and multimedia experts pored over the scholars' ideas to give them not only visual and oral shape and style, but also to ensure their educational integrity. This compact disc would not be just a series of games and pretty pictures, but a valuable scientific and artistic tool for both teachers and students. The DaVinci scholars returned to Ames in June '97 for a 3-day workshop, this time to test and revise a dozen of the strategies they had created during the previous year. Joining the teachers in art studios and chemistry labs were some 40 students, grades 3 through 12.
If this building were built back in the 20s and 30s, think of that piece of limestone sitting out, kicking all the rain.
Look at this. It's like you can take the whole top of your Hey, I'm
At the end of the day, even the students helped in the evaluation. Their art and chemistry projects would also be used to illustrate the instructional strategies that are the heart of the DaVinci Multimedia system. After the summer workshop, production of the DaVinci Multimedia system accelerated at Iowa State University's Instructional Technology Center. Skilled multimedia developers, with oversight from project personnel, brought the teacher's original conceptions to reality. Users of the CD-ROM-based DaVinci Multimedia system enter 16th century Florence, Italy, and the home of the master himself. Students can browse in the foyer of DaVinci's home, filled with the objects and ideas that fascinated this Renaissance man. In an adjacent hall are 4 doors through which visitors may explore different multimedia worlds, the 4 modules the DaVinci scholars had been developing over the past year. These worlds encompass the concepts of density, solutions, isomers, and matter. And each offers the visitor extensive opportunities for exploration and interaction with both art and chemistry principles. Back again in the foyer, teachers can open a cabinet that contains, among other resources, the more than 70 instructional strategies the DaVinci scholars have developed. These strategies are appropriate for both art and science classes, in elementary through high school. Through their participation in the DaVinci Project, the 24 DaVinci scholars have become familiar with new educational tools and new ways of learning. They have developed a remarkable camaraderie with those whose disciplines were thought to be contrary to their own. In doing so, they have created unique ways of looking at their discipline and how it can be taught and learned. After 2.5 years, they have produced a valuable resource, not only for themselves, but also for their art and science peers around the country.